Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Again, another session of 503 in the class of Straight Talk. I'm so glad that you decided to join me again this week. As I normally do, I normally start off by talking about what's going on in my hometown. I think it would be hypocritical of me to talk about what's going on in your hometown without mentioning my hometown. There's a portion that says sweep around your own front door. And Lord knows that I've been sweeping around Madison County system front door because we have a lot of problems, ladies and gentlemen. This thing is getting serious by the moment. Let me bring you up to date here in my hometown. And again, as I said all session, that when I talk about my hometown, you just include the name of your hometown in there because the same thing are happening. Because otherwise, people wouldn't be moving from Alaska to New York, from New York to New Jersey. They are the same people, so people are not any different in your hometown than they are in mine. And in public education is failing all over the nation. So don't worry about what's happening in my hometown. Let's worry about what's happening in all of the hometowns across this country when it affects public education. Our students need your support, and we need to improve on our public education system. But ladies and gentlemen, if you remember in previous session, I talked to you in reference to the fact that I served as a sub for 7 years. I hold a master's degree, and I enjoy, my passion is working with young people. And that was my way of finding out firsthand what was going on in public education. Anyone would tell you that when Meriwether was in the building in my class, we learned something that day. We just didn't sit around and read the newspaper and watch movies. I also would come into the classroom, and the first thing that the students would say, "Are we watching a movie?" Then that tells me that a lot of movies are being shown in the classroom. If that is the case, then what is the administrator of the school doing? Why is it that he don't hear movies? The movies are coming straight off of YouTube. They're not movies involving lesson plans. So, ladies and gentlemen, I in turn emailed the Board of Education. I attempted first to talk with the superintendent. I was told that I needed to talk with the Human Resource Development or Human Capital, whatever name that they use for the occasion. And it took 4 weeks and didn't get back. So then I finally called the superintendent's office, and I couldn't get through to the superintendent. I waited 6 weeks, and then I approached the superintendent at a school board meeting. She told me that she would get back with me the following day. And it is now about 5 weeks later, and I still have not heard from the superintendent. That's about 2 whole months, taking that long to get back. So then I decided, well, why don't I email the chairman of the school board? He's a businessman and professional man, and should be a responsible party. So why don't I email him? So I emailed him and sent copies to all of the school board members. Ladies and gentlemen, as of today, I have not heard from the chairman of the board. I haven't heard from the superintendent. I haven't heard from the resource development, capital resource, human resource person. One of the school board members, one of the African American members, said that she concurred and thought it was wrong, and that she would talk to the superintendent. It is now going into another week, and have not heard from that board member. One other board member, when I was at the meeting, came by and says, "Good email," as if I played in a good football or baseball game. Then one other board member did call me and talked about it, and his commentary was pretty serious. He said to me, "We all get the same kind of response from this superintendent." Then one other board member at the meeting said, "Well, you know, all of us feel like we get the same thing from her." And one board member said, I have personally told her that I don't like her personnel decision, and I don't have a vote of confidence in the personnel area. Ladies and gentlemen, the personnel area are the people who supervise and work with your child every day. Now, before we take a brief break, let me tell you this. We have a very serious matter here. And it's not only happening again in my hometown. If the Board of Education and the superintendent of the system, that is the highest person you can have in the school system, and the administrators and teachers, if they are unresponsive to the citizens. Now, I am a 30-year veteran of the school system. If I can't get answers and I contribute to the school system, I in fact built that first alternative school and ran it very successfully. I ran there and created their first truancy board. If I gave some of my best years into the system and I can't get a call, then what make you think that as a parent, they'll get a call? We're always saying, it's the parents, it's the parent. I have talked to many parents who can't get through any more than I am able to get through. It's time now for some changes, and the only way to change that is at the ballot box. But if you're not concerned and you're not willing to do anything, then it really is a sad day. Let me make one suggestion before we go to break. I'm just concerned that in next 22 days from now, our system are going to vote as whether we need to close some schools. Over 2,200 students have left our system and went to private schools and charter schools in surrounding towns. Most of the people who went to private school, they left a system where you could not mention the word God, could not pray, and they went to Christian academies. One place is named Jackson Christian School, one of our private schools in Jackson. And all of the private schools, they're able to have religion in the school, and they also discuss God, and they pray openly. You should know by now that without God, we can do nothing. He says in the Bible, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and all of its righteousness, and everything will be added. How can you not pray and seek him and then we expecting the school system, public school system, to flourish? In 22 days, I envision the four cornerstones of our system will be pushed out and crumble. We will never get it back. Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it first on Straight Talking Room 503. This time next year, our system will be in worse shape than it is right now. Over 1,000 people are waiting to see if we're going to force their child to be rebused and reschooled, repurposed to another building. You got people who are not going to come back because they're not going to want to go to that school or that school. And so we're in bad shape here in my county. In your county, they're closing down too. I told you last week they're closing 12 schools in Chicago. If they have not come to your city, they are on their way to your city to do the very same thing. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a suggestion. Students are the experts. They're there 180 days. If the adults have messed up the system as well as they have, it is now time to listen to who we should have been listening to all along. We should listen to the students. They're the experts because they're there. They're the one that open those obsolete books. They're the one that hearing from those ineffective teachers. They're the one under the supervision of ineffective administrators. They're under the umbrella of the ineffective superintendents of schools. So, ladies and gentlemen, they are there every day. Why don't we listen to them? Who know any better than them? Who they should be involved in the school improvement plan, and they're not. When I left, they wasn't, and I checked this week, and they still not involved in the school improvement plan. I'm not saying that they should be on the board voting, but there should be students represented on the Board of Education. Why not bounce off ideas? Because they're there, they feeling the results of it. Why not listen to them? Not only that, their student body would have a representative on the board that they could talk to that would get their issues to the table. We got to do something different. We need to engage students in the structure of our school system, but somehow we're overlooking them. Stay with me. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the final session. I'm going to wrap this up, and maybe in the next session we'll deal with some concrete issues. But I just need to get some things off of my mind and get it off my heart. Think about this. I want you to ponder this along with me. No matter, and this is for all cities and counties and states, unless the people who are heading up the school system, and this includes everyone in the community, ladies and gentlemen, until you have a clean heart, that is why some of the systems across this nation are not working. Because you got people who are going to private school, going to other surrounding county. Why are our kids fleeing when every boy and every girl, regardless of the background, regardless of their gender, regardless of their race, they should receive a quality education? Those who are fleeing to better systems, more effective schools, ladies and gentlemen, common sense ought to tell you they're going to be more qualified and they're going to get the jobs. While you may not want to agree with me, but I believe that the system knows that an uneducated child is going to be unable to get a job, and they're more suitable for prison than they are for the workforce. Those who have left and got the quality education, they will be the one that will be making the decision that will govern this country. We have no problem in my county building a prison. We're extending on to our jail facility. We're building those jail facilities for some of your children that are listening to me, some of your cousins, some of your nephews, some of your best friends. Because without an education, ladies and gentlemen, you're doomed. You're doomed. And then you're coming from a system where you can't even praise God. We have young people who are not going to church and Sunday school and learning about God. Then you got a segment of the community that they go into universities where they can praise God. They're going to private schools where they can read scripture, they can talk about God and what have you. Ladies and gentlemen, we're in serious trouble. The last part of this session, I want to pose a question to you. Who packed your parachute? Who packed your parachute? There was a fighter pilot who was fighting in the United States Army, and he was flying a jet fighter plane. And he would every day would go out on this ship, and they would practice maneuver of how to fight the enemy. And then they would prepare that if the plane was ever shot down. Therefore, they had to have a parachute on to make sure that if the plane was shot down, that they could parachute out into safety. But every morning, Captain Plum would board the plane. He would pass by people on the way that was getting the plane ready to check the plane, to make sure his parachute was in his jacket and everything was properly fixed. But then one day, he went off to war. While over the Pacific Ocean, the enemy shot his plane down. He bailed out of the plane and parachuted to safety. Well, when they picked him up and they brought him back to the ship that he had left on, there was a man and he came out and greeted him. He says, "I'm so glad that you're okay, that everything's okay." And the guy said to him, I understand that the parachute and everything worked fine. He said, "Yeah, it did. Sure it did. And who are you?" He said, "I'm the sailor that prepared the parachute for you. I made sure that every day that when you went out, that parachute was ready to open and it would let you out safe. And I'm so glad that you made it back safe. To God be the glory." That man couldn't sleep that night, Captain Plum. He thought about that all night. So many days I passed by that guy. I never did ask him how he was doing, didn't ask him about his family. He was just a guy underneath me. And I feel bad that I never did take the time to speak to the guy who packed my parachute. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with that being in mind, I think about public education. Not all of the administrators are bad people and unaffected. Some are hardworking and have really helped and inspired your child. Not all the teachers are ineffective. Some have worked very hard to prepare your child. Have you ever stopped to realize that on the job, and I talk to parents all the time, "Oh, my daughter is working over here and she's over this and she went to law school, she went to med school." Do you not know that in public education, those teachers prepared your child to where she or he is in life right now? My question to you as we get ready to wrap up this, the clock on the wall says it's time to go. Have you thanked the people who packed your parachute? Have you thanked the teachers who helped your child? Have you thanked the administrators and everything? I know during my 30 years, I think that I've helped way over 5,000 students in my school. And I think that I and my staff, and we give all credit to God, all credit goes to the Lord, that we made a whole lot of students go on and do well. My question is, it's a thankless world out there. I hope that you are changing things, that you're writing letters to your teachers and saying, "Thank you for working with my son." Writing letters to the principal saying, "Appreciate what you're doing." You need to make sure who's packing your parachute. There's been a lot of people who have invested in the life of your child. Public education, ladies and gentlemen, as we wrap things up and get out of here. public education is failing because we have not done our job. Everyone has something that they can do, be it your grandchild, your niece, your nephew. If things continue to go like it is, public education in my hometown and in your hometown as well, next year will be in such a bad shape that we will not be able to pick it back up again. It's going to remind me of Humpty Dumpty that stood on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king men and all the king horses couldn't put Humpty Dumpty together again. Ladies and gentlemen, we're reaching a point where we're not going to be able to put public education back together again. It's going to have the same effect as global warming. And you heard it first on Straight Talk in Room 503. Until next week, we'll deal with some more issues. Thank you for joining me. And for heaven's sake, say a little prayer, because God is the only one that's going to be able to pull us out of this, because we're not together when it comes to public education. Ladies and gentlemen, call a friend, tell a friend. Morris Merriweather's Addressing Public Education. Purchase the book at www.morrismerriweather.com. And you can also go to YouTube and Facebook and see the videos. And you can also see it on my website. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a serious time in public education. We got to do something. Till next week, I'm your host, Morris Merriweather, and I look forward to seeing you again. Take care.